Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Sword Art Online Alicization anime review. This one's going to be for episode 31, which is called Stigma of the Disqualified. And I thought this was a very good episode of Alicization. I thought they really nailed all of the kind of key plot points that this episode was covering. As we know, the last few episodes have been very action orientated, and this one was as well. But the focus here on like showing the battle through sort of characterizing a lot of these characters who you maybe don't know as well, I think really works to get across the kind of impact of this, that most of the characters that we're meeting here, actually like all of them in this case, are people from the underworld. So they are just kind of artificial floodlights, but they are people, and that's the point Alice was sort of making at the end, that both the human side and the Dark Territory side, everyone, it's all artificial floodlights. They all have light cubes, regardless of if they're like a goblin or a human or whatever. And so it's so cool that like the series is able to just, for the last few episodes, focus in on all of these characters without sort of quite needing like Kirito or Asuna or these characters around. Like, of course it's going to be awesome when they do get involved, but the fact that, you know, Alice can sort of, you know, hold things together in terms of being like the main character sort of in play here at the moment, and supported by, you know, Bercoli and in this case Renly and stuff like that. I think that's pretty impressive. And yeah, you know, they roughly touched on Renly in the last episode, and here we get the sort of, you know, his arc. Again, it's simple, it's just a one episode arc style thing, but it worked for this character, getting across the idea that here is sort of a failure as an integrity knight. The administrator just didn't think he was good enough, and so he was put in deep freeze, and he's one of the few knights that they managed to get out of deep freeze prior to the battle. And he was given a position, but he sort of abandoned it. And I just really liked the arc of his sort of lost memory. You know, the Integrity Knights all had that sort of lost memory that makes them an Integrity Knight. And his one was about, you know, during the sword tournament, it was him versus his best friend. And in a complete accident, he wins the fight, but because his friend's sword shattered, he ended up killing him. And so it sort of presents this fear of battle for Renly, and this is why he's always sort of held back, hasn't been able to master his weapon as an Integrity Knight. That's just a simple but effective arc of kind of showing kind of why he's like afraid of things, and just regaining that confidence and showing the sort of skill and training that he has gone through. And they did it slightly different here in the anime than they did in the light novel. I guess the exact same effect across. It's just they sort of reorganized like certain things. Here in the anime, what happens is, of course, you know, Ronye and TS kind of come in with Kirito to right to the back of the supply line to protect him from the goblins who've of course broken through. Eldrie, who we'll come back to, of course, in like I assume the next episode. So they've broken through, the supply line is at risk, they're protecting Kirito, and they find him kind of, hiding away here. And then the goblins come in, and he has to kind of, you know, step up to defend Ronye and TS here, who are sort of inexperienced in battle, and he should be the one commanding this situation. But it takes him seeing Kirito about to move, even though he can't move or speak, jump into action, and this is what gets him going, and he finally manages to kill that goblin and get back on track. And you just see him, you know, regain that confidence and that ability to just, you know, take out the standard enemies and get back going. And then he encounters the other goblin chief, and suddenly he encounters another problem, like, his standard attacks, just his weapon on its own, is not going to be enough to defeat, you know, a higher ranking enemy. And he sort of loses that confidence again, and the whole idea of he has never been able to use the special abilities of his weapon. And finally, you know, here in the middle of all this action, he, you know, I suppose accepts what happens in the past, accepts the position that he's in now and the need to fight, and uses the release recollection here ability of his double winged blade. So he gets the perfect weapon control here, ultimate form of the technique. The two blades sort of link together, become this kind of cross-shaped one that he's able to just control at will, and it's just this like levitating saw that he can throw around the place, and this is finally what cuts through the goblin. Very cool animated sequence as the goblin's running towards him, and like he just slices it in half like vertically from behind, and the two halves just fall beside Renly. It's a very cool moment, and the idea is that Renly's now up and running. Like the weakest sort of integrity knight going into this battle is now up and ready to go, and he's going to be, at least in the light novels, they get across, that he is a very sort of commanding presence in the battle from here on out. That this has really just solidified him into an excellent kind of combatant. So, it's just he definitely stood out to me over the course of the light novels as one of the more interesting sort of more minor sort of commanders on the Integrity Knight side of things. I think they do a good job with a simple but effective arc here in terms of having Renly step up to protect Ronier and TS, Lionel and Faisal kind of coming in and also sort of being the ones to note that, oh, you're finally acting like a knight again, and they're the ones that like aren't even knights yet, but like they're talking to him like they're better than him, and in many ways before the battle the two of them were, but he's the one who has the rank of knight, and finally he sort of shows why he's worthy of that title. So just good arc overall. I did really enjoy it. We then get DIL, the leader of the Dark Mages, beginning to act on the enemy side of things. We see the sort of second stage of the assault from the Dark Territory here, with her leading this attack. This time they send the minions that they've hatched to attack by going across the enemy lines, and this is where we get Berkoli making his first move in the battle. And really cool move. We already know what Berkoli's sword, the first ability of his sword, is the ability to send a cut into the future, a cut that is activated later on, and that's what he did here. They don't explain it exactly in the episode, but I think it's clear enough that obviously he'd set this trap up beforehand. The light novel kind of explains that before the gate even crumbled, he had set this up as a sort of aerial defense above the gate. He'd just gone up there, done 300 or something slashes to make this grid, and then when the enemy finally sends in their sort of aerial assault, he activates it. They get across in the light novel a little bit more sort of the sort of stress of this, and that he's holding his second most powerful ability active for hours, basically. That he is just waiting, please attack, so I can finally let go of this attack. And it is amazing because he just kills all 800 of those minions at once. And it gets across, here is the sort of weakness on the Dark Territory side of things, that they have the numbers, but they don't have the special abilities on that level. So I thought that was really cool, and it continues the setup of we still don't know yet what Berkoli's release recollection command is. So if that's what his sword can do just with the first special ability, what is Berkoli's ultimate ability, given that he is the Integrity Knight commander? That is going to be a big one when it comes up. So yeah, the next thing is that obviously we then get the Dark Mages actually going into action. They are going to, with their mass numbers, do crazy big magic attacks to defeat the human forces. But this is obviously what the main thing that the human forces have planned to counter with Alice's plan here. So this is where we get the kind of big kind of finale of the episode with what has Alice actually been doing. We get the explanation of that, and I think it works out really well, setting up the idea that the Dark Mages can't use their magic, they can't use their sacred arts. the magic just fizzles out because there's not enough resources for them to use. And they're all questioning why this is. Like, people are dying left, right, and center. It's a battle. There should be no problem with having enough energy to do this. Where's it all going? Cut to Alice in the sky. We get some inner dialogue from her, which was very important here because this needs the explanation, and it gets a pretty long explanation in the book as well. So I thought they did a pretty good job here, just very quickly, whereas they went obviously much more in depth in the novel because it can do just pages upon pages of narration, but very effective, just really quickly what she's doing. What is the metal sphere thing? What's it doing? Why is all the energy channeling? And here, how's she doing it? So she just simply says that as powerful as I am still just one person. So to counter all those mages, one thing I can do is by just being clever with the application of arts. And so she creates this metal ball with mirrors on the inside and basically just continues to generate using the energy, basically luminous elements or light elements inside of the ball. They constantly reflect off each other inside of the metal sphere and build up power. And so it allows her to just kind of create this sort of infinite kind of power situation here, absorbing as much energy into it as possible. So it's a clever way for one person to use a unbelievably powerful attack. And so she combines this ball with her own kind of perfect, with her own weapon release, memory release command. And yeah, she creates a kind of flower pattern out of her sword, and at the center of that flower pattern is the ball. She uses the final art burst release on the front of it and just unleashes this devastating laser of light that just wipes out the second line of forces of the Dark Territory. It's an incredible moment that I think just works so well. That is there any coming back for the Dark Territory after something like that they've been just completely outplayed in the tactics here at the first at this stage of the battle, just with the Bercoli taking down the minions, the goblins' kind of sneaky attack not working because Renly's gotten back up and running. Now this is taking out most of the dark mages. Things are looking pretty bad. Of course, we haven't seen the pugilists yet in action, and we haven't seen a bunch of the other species of the Dark Territory. And in terms of like Vecta hasn't really given any command so far in the battle, so we haven't cut to him at all during this to see how he's reacting to right now. Kind of, it looks like things aren't going so well. Again, it's important to get across just how skewed the numbers are in this battle in terms of the Dark Territory does still have so many more forces than the humans do. So that's still a factor, but this is a momentum swinger of an attack, and I think that's really, really incredible. It does mean now that Alice, she's done her kind of big role at the start of the battle. She can just kind of focus on getting into the battle now, so that's cool. And yeah, that is most of the episode. It is really those kind of three sequences. It's the sort of Renly getting his confidence back arc at the start. It's Bercoli with his counterattack against the aerial forces, and then it's finally revealing what Alice has been doing the entire start of the battle. They're the three sections of the episode, and I thought they did them all very well. Some minor changes from the light novel, but nothing too egregious like perhaps Last Time Out or the Shasta stuff from a few episodes ago. But, in general, very, very well done here. And yeah, we move on. Of course, I suppose that means that the one Integrity Knight we haven't really focused on a lot in the battle so far is Eldrier, in that he was broken through. That's why Renly was brought into play here, because Eldrier, who's at the front of that flank, was broken through, so he's going to have to sort of make up for not being able to counter that attack. So we'll see what he does, because they've been definitely building up that he has something to prove in this fight as well. Alice was the one who trained him. He needs to show how powerful he is. Yeah, just lots more Dark Territory stuff to come. Again, Asuna is on her way in, so that's something to keep an eye out for as well. That if things start to go bad for the human army, be prepared for the arrival of Asuna anytime, basically. So, still some great stuff to get into here, but I've been pretty impressed with the first 7 or so episodes of the second half of Alicization we've had so far. They seem to be going all in terms of giving the quality of animation, budget, and stuff like that they need to. And there's more and more big stuff to come, because that's what this arc is. It's just big moment after big moment after big moment. It's relentless, basically. That's been my thoughts on this episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this one. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.